Welcome back. It's the last Fate episode for a while. I say for a while. The plan is to just do Fate episodes at the end of other parts in future. But you never know, there might be like a whole massive unlock and we end up doing a Fate episode. So as far as I know, this will be the last dedicated Fate episode. We shall see. Anyway, but we got Rosetta's now. Prologue. An unforgettable journey. Let us begin.
Zega Grande, the forgotten skydom. As I gazed into its perennial blue, I reflected on my last time here, during my travels with him.
Him?
My memories of this place were distant, yet unforgettable.
Have you been here before, Rosetta?
Perhaps I have. Who can say?
You can. You can say.
Eventually, I'll share my tales of the captain's father and our journey together. When the time is ripe, of course.
Hey, hold on.
But first, I would need to sort through my own emotions. It was here in these skies that we would eventually part. I know. In the eyes of eternity, our time together lasted no longer than a blink. Yet his impact on me felt nothing short of eternal. Indeed, it wasn't nostalgia that I felt upon revisiting these skies. Rather, it was the significance of this place and all that transpired here that weighed heavily upon my heart.
Ooh. So there's history with Gran's father there. Okay, right. So episode 1, A Priceless Name.
During the war, primal beasts were exploited by the Astrals as instruments of battle. Withered and fated, one primal would eventually drift to Lumacier Archipelago, making a home for herself. Over time, she grew accustomed to the comforts of its forests and the serenity they offered. It was a far cry from the brutalities of war. Centuries would pass until a young man stumbled upon her domain, forever altering the course of her life. She engaged him in a vicious battle, but was ultimately humbled in defeat. Accepting her fate, she resigned herself to death. However, the man would sheath his blade and, to her surprise, asked if she would join him on a journey across the skies.
So Gran's father.
A primal beast was supposedly no more than an astral weapon. Beings born to be controlled, manipulated, and ill-used since time immemorial. She had never entertained the idea of something more. In fact, she hardly had a name for herself. Well, she did have a moniker, but it was a meaningless one, whose sole purpose was to identify her as a weapon.
Uh-huh.
Perhaps out of pity, perhaps out of kindness, the man bestowed upon her a new name. It was from that moment she would truly blossom. Rosetta.
Well, that's intriguing.
It was his gift to her, one she would treasure and love for eternity.
Well. This one's going to be interesting as we progress, even though we can't progress that far. Anyway, episode 2, Entrusted with the Future.
With every union comes an inevitable separation. When his journey neared its final chapters, as he took up arms against the god of destruction, I returned to the forests of Lumacier. After my return to the archipelago, I briefly longed for his companionship, but the flora and fauna kept me company. Decades came and went, and one day I would encounter yet another young visitor to the island. There was no mistaking it. This was his offspring. I realized at that very moment the time had come. He had entrusted this child to me from the ends of the skies. My heart swelled, but I concealed my excitement, flashing naught but a smile at the young captain. I would join the up-and-coming Skyfarer's crew on the Grand Cipher for another journey across the skies, this time as a bystander.
You're more intriguing than I expected you to be.
During their travels, they would experience joys and triumphs, alongside loss and hardship. I continued to observe from afar, doing my best to obscure my true intentions.
Indeed.
My roots were well planted in the past. Knowing what I knew, would I be able to act as a part of their crew in earnest? Before long, my ambivalence would come to a head.
Oh.
My convictions had begun to waver. Was this the right approach? Of course, I was conscious of reality. I knew their journey wouldn't be easy. They would have to face the harsh life the skies had in store for them. And with our foes only becoming more and more cumbersome, even for myself, could I possibly protect them? My presence on the Grand Cipher was inconsequential, and at worst, a hindrance to the crew. I thought if I weren't here, the captain, EO, the entire crew would handle themselves just fine.
Yeah, but you can't think like that.
Perhaps the time had come to retire to the forests once more.
No.
But as I was preparing to leave, EO grabbed my hand so sweetly, so innocently, and said she needed me to stay. I couldn't bring myself to abandon her. I would be the bystander no longer. Everyone in the crew had a role to play, and I would be the exception no more. Finally, I found my purpose. I was free to experience the skies once again, hand in hand with the captain. It wasn't duty or obligation that anchored me to this crew. It was love. And I promised to always protect them. I would leave no regrets in the skies. Thus, our journey continued. Only this time I felt that I was a true member of the Grand Cipher.
So where could her story lead? That's intriguing. Interesting. I mean, especially because we've got quite a lot to go through. I like that a lot. Right, so that's us caught up with the Fate episodes. So, we shall end this part here, and in the next part, we'll finally carry on with the story. So we'll see you in the next part. Ta-da for now.